So what can you do when a big algorithm change starts to wreak havoc on your search rankings? Just follow these 7 best practices to make sure that your site is well optimized for Google. Details inside the video. Hey, this is Chia from Brand 24. So last week we talked about the Google search algorithm and how to recognize the signs of a big algorithm update. You can find a link to the video just up there in the corner, just in case you missed it. And as you might be aware, anytime Google makes a bigger change to the algorithm, like with the recent March 2019 core update, this can potentially mess with search results for your keywords. So you might get a boost or just completely drop off the face of page 1. Now, with some algorithm updates, there's not much you can do about it from your side. It depends on Google and what it is they're trying to do. But making sure that your website is well optimized in the first place will definitely help you minimize the negative effects of a bigger algorithmic change. So let's go over 7 best practices that will help you optimize your site and content for Google. Now, one thing that you want to keep in mind is this simple fact. If there's anything that an algorithm is good at detecting, it's a pattern. That's why you want to diversify your backlinks. Not increase them, but diversify, because Google will eventually notice if all your backlinks seem to come from the same 2 sites or if they're all internal. Linking this way might give you a short-term boost, but it won't really help you gain much credibility with Google, and it can even start to work against you once the next algorithm update picks up on your pattern. So try to diversify your links, even if they're no follow. And it might not pass on any link juice, but it's still really beneficial, especially if the anchor text contains your brand name, which brings us to the second tip. Track how often and in what context other sites mention your brand, and then work on doubling this. Basically, the more online mentions you have, positive ones of course, sentiment is really important here. The more indicators that Google has that your site is a trustworthy and credible source and not spam. So you can track this with a media monitoring tool like Brand 24, which finds online mentions of your brand, hashtag, or whatever it is you're trying to get people to talk about. This also creates opportunities for you to generate even more mentions. And now the third tip is more of a detail but an important one. Make sure you include enough information about your company on your website. And by this I mean have author bios on your blog, company contact info on your site, and a brief About Us page telling visitors what you do, the services you provide, and the people that you work with. So including secondary information like this is really important if you deal with e-commerce and you have pages that ask for credit card information. It informs Google that your site is trustworthy and you're not going to run off with somebody's private financial information. So tip number 4 is about responding to external websites that might be hurting your SEO. So like we mentioned above, the more mentions you have, the more signals you're sending to Google that your site is both authoritative and trustworthy, which is 2 out of 3 of Google's EAT guidelines. However, another added benefit of media monitoring is that it also helps you find occurrences of scraped content. Content scraping is when your content is copied and republished on another site without your permission. It happens with blog posts, YouTube videos, and more, and it can definitely hurt your search rankings. So if monitoring your brand mentions also reveals that your content is getting scraped by bad sites, you can request to have it removed under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And tip number 5 is about duplicate content, which Google doesn't actually penalize, at least not directly, since content duplication can easily occur internally. Like if you moved from HTTP to HTTPS and you have 2 versions of the same page floating around the web, or multiple versions of one page for different countries, languages, and mobile and desktop. Now, Google fully realizes that readers, they don't want to see the same content from a bunch of different pages in the search, so they do their best to consolidate duplicate content to show just one version. And to help Google figure out which version to show, you can use canonical tags, 301 redirects, and of course, always follow the best practices for content syndication. All of this helps to just consolidate signals for duplicate content. And tip number 6 is about content cannibalization, which I won't go into here because we already talked about what it is and how to avoid it inside this video in the link above. And now the 7th way to stay proactive during a big Google algorithm change is by updating your content on a regular basis. This could be weekly, monthly, or less frequently. It just depends on your time and focus. There's a lot of value in doing this because Not only is it less time consuming than creating new content, but it also makes your existing content more evergreen. For example, you can update an old article to include new information that may have changed over time, or if it's on a broad topic, you can add a few paragraphs on related subtopics to make it more comprehensive. And of course, you should also update your site according to any new SEO tips that you learn along the way, like the ones that we cover today. Anyway, that is it for this week. If you have any questions or something to add, just let me know in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where I will be explaining how you can do even more in social media and digital marketing each week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you next time. Bye!